During that time, numerous trade triangles emerged worldwide, connecting different regions and involving various goods. However, they all shared a common aspect. Africa was a common point among these triangles, and the slaves were a prevalent commodity in all of them. Let's dive into history. Hello, welcome to GreenPalm YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna share a story about a very large and also well-known trade known as triangular trade, which the British were heavily involved in. Ships transporting slaves to North and Central America would fill their holds with commodities such as sugar, cotton, tobacco, malt, spices, and gold on the return journey, which they would sell in European markets. They would then load their ships with weapons, cloth, wine, and other goods in demand by African tribal chiefs and set sail for Africa. There, they would trade these goods with the chiefs in exchange for slaves before returning to America. Barter transactions were common, with less reliance on monetary exchange. British traders residing in North America sometimes organized triangular trade routes between Africa, South America, and North America. James de Wolfe, an English capitalist based in Bristol, North America, was one such trader who provided a ship and capital to a captain for a voyage to Africa and South America. In a letter to the captain, de Wolfe instructed him to procure as many young and healthy slaves as possible during trip to Cape Coast in Africa, using liquor as a means of bartering with the locals. The captain was then to proceed to Cuba in South America, deliver the slaves there, and acquire cow skins, dried meat, and other goods from the region known to yield substantial profits in Bristol. Finally, the captain was to return to Bristol, where eager buyers awaited their arrival. In America, New England traders simplified the triangular trade by loading their ships with barrels of liquor and heading to the African coast. There, they would offer alcohol to tribal chiefs in exchange for slaves. The traders would then sail to the Caribbean region in Central America, where vast sugarcane plantations were located, and exchange the slave for commodities including malt, which would be used in New England to produce more liquor. One merchant describes the island of Barbados in the Caribbean Sea as a prosperous island with capable inhabitants. He mentioned they had bought around 1,000 slaves that year, and the more they bought, the more they could afford to buy. Within a year and a half, they were able to earn back all the money they had spent. During that time, numerous trade triangles emerged worldwide, connecting different regions and involving various goods. However, they all shared a common aspect. Africa was a common point among these triangles, and the slaves were a prevalent commodity in all of them. The remarkable profits made by slave traders are well documented in the notes of an American sailor who transported slaves to Cuba to be sold to English and Spanish farmer in 1865, serving as the vice captain and ship doctor, who recounts that the ship carried 250 adult male slaves and 100 young boys and girls. Each slave was purchased for $16 and sold for $360 in Cuba. If the shipment arrived safely, the captain would receive more than $102,000. However, travel expenses and other costs totaling around $20,000 had to be deducted from the total income. Ultimately, the net profit from a slave trading voyage between Africa and Central America amounted to $100,000. These extraordinary profits fueled the escalating pace of slave transportation from Africa to the Americas. Between 1680 and 1700, the British Company of Africa forcibly took around 300,000 Africans from their families and homes, transferring them to the Americas. From 1700 to 1776 alone, more than 600,000 Africans were sent to Jamaica, where the agricultural products they cultivated held great importance for England. By multiplying the profit gained from trading each slave by these figures, you can grasp the immense wealth amassed by those involved in the slave trade. From 1680 to 1786, the British transported more than 2 million slaves to North America. Overall, from the time Christopher Columbus discovered the American continent until the end of the 18th century, Europeans kidnapped at least 12 million Africans and transported them in horrifying conditions across the Atlantic Ocean to the shores of the Americas. The lucrative nature of the slave trade caused concern among English politicians and rulers, who were determined not to relinquish this highly profitable enterprise. They not only sought to expand their control over Africa and the slave markets in North and South America, but also aimed to ensure that African chiefs remained focused solely on the slave trade, with no interest in other commercial activities. In the 18th century, a Trade Department officials addressed the parliamentarians, stating, "One might assume that if cotton, sugarcane, and tobacco cultivation became widespread in Africa, it would benefit us due to Africa's proximity." However, this is not the case. The current livelihood of African tribal chief relies on warfare, where captives are taken and sold to us. But if they were to become farmers and cultivate cotton or sugarcane, they would compel their captives to work on their fields, leaving no more slaves to sell to us. This would result in the disappearance of profits from the slave trade, the breakdown of trade triangles, the destruction of our plantations in North and Central America, and the collapse of our textile mills due to lack of cotton. Consequently, no one should entertain thoughts of agricultural prosperity in Africa. The story you heard today is from this book, The Manhunt from History of Colonialism series, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, you can also watch this story about the Haiti independence story. Until next video, take care.